But Quine said, no, he's too pessimistic. You can still say that this structure of the hierarchy of meta language is really implicit in the English language, and say we have a solution to the liar paradox in the English language. It's just that when people carry out the argument of the liar paradox, they violate this implicit rule about pay attention to levels when you use words like true and false. So you might call this the Quine-Tarski solution to the liar paradox in natural language. But anyway, to answer your question, Hans, yes, people have thought of using the object language, meta language distinction as a way of solving the liar paradox.
My question was, has anyone, or has there been any application of information sciences to this? We went over it with May's and epistemology, and it's been a little bit since I've had it. But
basically, there has been, I don't know, I haven't read any literature about information theory that applies to the liar paradox.
Okay. And
it's reasonable to think this way, though.
Yeah, and then for anyone who doesn't know what information science works with, basically instead of assigning true or false value, something, sorry, I spat out words. Anyway, they actually talk about a level of truthiness in things. There's actually levels of truth that can be measured, and you can actually measure information in random patterns, and random patterns of letters or numbers are actually shown to have more information because there's less information in something that's already known, like a comprised sentence. So I think information science's answer to this might be, this sentence is false is a sentence that contains very little informational value.
Yeah, looks pretty weak, doesn't it? That might be a way to go. Let me just mention one last sort of attempt, a very popular attempt, more popular than Quine's attempt to solve the liar paradox, by a guy named Saul Kripke. He tried to carry out the idea of this sentence doesn't have a truth value, but he didn't want to be quite as radical as Tarski was in saying what can't be well formed. He tried to actually allow liar sentences, allow truth to talk about it at its own level. And he came up with what's called a hierarchy of interpretations, in which at a certain level of interpretation, you finally arrive at an interpretation in which the liar sentence isn't true or false, but all the normal sentences are okay, and there are no problems. However, there are problems. You have an infinite hierarchy of interpretations, you have some problem with the strength and liar paradox, and so forth. Then in 1993, Stephen Yablo came along and said, wait a minute, this whole approach to the liar doesn't even depend on self-reference, of being able to use the word this. Imagine a bunch of people standing in a line. Do I have a nice little picture here? First guy says, everybody after me is lying. The second guy says, everybody after me is lying, referring to people behind them. The third guy says that. The fourth guy says that. And in fact, you have an infinite list in which they're all saying the same thing. Could anybody be telling the truth? Ask Yablo. Could anybody down here be telling the truth? It's important that this list be infinite. But notice, this sentence is not referring to itself. That sentence is not referring to itself. No sentence is referring to itself. So it's liar-like without self-reference. Veronica?
Wouldn't that rely on belief?
Well, what this first person is saying is that I believe everybody after me in this list is saying something false.
Yeah, but how would he know that? Because he's not everybody else.
Well, suppose he doesn't know, and we just say, could it be one or the other, even if he doesn't know it? Could this be true, or could this be false? If you think about it, both assumptions are going to lead to trouble, are going to lead to paradox, lead to a contradiction, therefore you have a paradox.
I don't even think he has to believe it. He doesn't have to believe it. He could just be saying it. I mean, as long as he's saying it with that intention, that that's what he's talking about.
Yeah. He could, well, whether he believes or not, could he say it and it'd be true? That's what we're asking.
Well, okay, so I get that, but
Or could it be false? If you think about this, you can't get away with either one. They both lead to trouble. Suppose number 812 down here is saying something true, or saying something false. The reason I'm not carrying out this long reasoning is we're getting near 6 p.m. when I know we need to stop. But let me just summarize and say what we've seen here, we began with a whole bunch of paradoxes, wide variety of them, and then after looking at them, talking about some of the ways to maybe solve some and what's important about them, then we focused just on the liar paradox. We saw various versions of the liar paradox, some attempted solutions to the liar paradox, and we have this interesting new 1993 liar-like paradox in which self-reference may not be integral to the liar paradox idea of problems after all. So, thank you very much.
thank you.
It's good. I want to talk about this stuff. Did you want to say something? I don't need to rush off.
Well, hold on.